right now we're still in a remote world. How are you going to bring people together now as the world continues to open? Is there any thoughts on that? And also on this riff, also thoughts about how you're thinking about, again, employee wellness as you're growing in this interesting time. I mean, Elon from Tesla tweeted today, it's time to come back to work. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
Yeah, was weak. Yeah.
So just a lot. I mean, you're co-founder. You have these big problems. Like there's a lot to those questions. There's 3 questions in there. Pick up any one you want. Or really, it's about getting people together in person.
Yeah, especially since we're growing the team from 30 to almost 200 by the end of the year. We're already at 80. And so this is really top of mind for us. So we were born into a remote first world.
Yeah.
So I'd say one third of the team is in the Bay Area, 1/3 is in the rest of the US, 1/3 is international. So we're remote first. But we opened our first actually office in San Francisco. I'm in our office today. And what is great with Zoom and remote is that it's really great for execution, like prioritizing execution. But what we find is that it's not as great as in person for serendipitous conversations, so like creativity. And also, of course, like in real life, building relationships as well. So our goal is, how do we create serendipity in a remote context? And so what we're doing typically, you have offsite retreats, so company-wide. We've got team retreats as well that are coming as well. And we have also what we call a travel with purpose policy, meaning that you can go anywhere it's refunded by the company to work with another teammate. And what we see happening with the team is that they're organizing these trips. Like there was 2 weeks ago, there was a trip in New York, and there would like 15 people would go in New York. And the next one is in London, and like 20 people would go in London. So they do that together, and that creates that serendipity. So when you do team retreats, it's intentional. You want to create serendipity within these teams. But right now, with this travel with purpose, it's really random serendipity. So it's very complementary. And
I gotta tell you, I learned something new, Laura. We got to take that for your team. Like, Laura, travel with purpose.
Oh no, I love the idea of letting them come together and pick where they're going to go, and then having them plan it out and having these micro retreats. I think that's a brilliant idea. To bring teams together. Especially leading a data science organization, and hiring most of them through the pandemic, where nobody had met anybody, and working on very large as an incubated team, even though we're at Microsoft. Still working on very much new sets of technology, new algorithms. Sustainability is not something that we've, cracked yet. And then none of us had met each other. And so it was one of those beautiful things. The first time I flew out to Washington to meet a large portion of the team, and it was just amazing. It's like, oh my gosh, you're so much taller than I realized. It's small things, like I'm 5'11", and no one knew that. And shoes, I'm like 6'1". I mean, I'm very, very tall. And so, it's those small things that you don't pick up when you're, this all day long. The other thing, I think you made that point, which is those we call hallway conversations, or the water cooler moments. We tried having those, but there are moments that are awkward for people. Those that I'm neurodiverse, I have dyslexia, and so I don't always process things in the same way that others do, and that can make others feel uncomfortable when we're on camera because of tricks I have to do to make sure I've heard somebody correctly. And so it's little things like that you don't appreciate as much until you're in a moment like the pandemic and step out and then have those moments together, which it sounds like your team is doing quite serendipitously well, of coming together in these cities. And I love that. I'm definitely stealing that idea as a way to have teams plan offsites.
I agree, because you can plan serendipity, but you can plan a trip. I mean, that is, and then the output is the great work versus you come to work. Let's make sure you get to work. I think that's great.